Cool.
Awesome. I'm Lynn's Derry. I'm a principal at Metalab at Harvard and also the artist in residence at the Maya Brin Institute for New Performance at the University of Maryland in College Park. Currently based in Washington, D.C., my background is in contemporary dance, choreography, and performance. And my passion area is looking at the intersection of dance, data representation, and more recently, AI. Great. So, a note on the title here. Toward a choreographic theory on the body as an information, thinking a lot about how choreography can help explain the body in its ability to mediate data. And I'm going to first introduce some of these theoretical ideas and then share with you 3 projects that bring them to life. So, my current research examines the body data relationship from the interdisciplinary perspective of the performance arts, data representation, and artificial intelligence. I'm deeply curious about how performative bodies can become information mediums via choreographic operations, whether to make abstract data more sensorial and hence communicative as performance, or embodied data more legible and hence transferable to AI and other information systems. Relatedly, I'm interested in how the body medium is complicated by the subjective dweller who may affect the outcomes or very constitution of the data they are physically mediating. This presentation presents these early thoughts. The body is an information medium. It can be encoded.
Sorry to interrupt. Could you try and maybe press the play button? Because we see also below the notes. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, or just kind of make the screen bigger. Let's try. What happens if you
Yes.
press the play button? Just a technical thing. Yes, wonderful.
Concern. Yes, although then I lose my ability to see notes here.
Okay. If it doesn't work, then keep it as it was. Sorry, I was just saying that we were seeing
No,
the notes.
thank you. I will be going off script here once I get to the projects, but want to be sure
Cool.
I present these concepts clearly.
Okay.
So the body is an information medium. It can be encoded to represent data or decoded as constituting data. It can even transfigure data through its embodied interactions. From a choreographic perspective, an example of encoding data would be producing a movement score for dancing row by row a data set, as seen in my work Data Sensorium with Metalab at Harvard. An example of decoding data would be establishing certain classes of movement for other people or computer to interpret what a dancer is doing, as seen in William Forsythe, Improvisation Technologies, a tool for the analytical dance eye. And lastly, an example of transfiguring data would be to use generative AI, for example, to morph a dance video or text into something uncanny, as seen in Lauren Bedell's many experimental Instagram sketches. Catalyzing these processes of encoding, decoding, and transfiguring data is choreography, which extends both to the perception of and structuring of aesthetic cultural movement. Thus, my research on the body data relationship in art is anchored to choreography. Terrific. So from this perspective, I research how data flow to/from the body via processes that either translate them to the body as choreographic inscriptions for performance or abstract them from the body via classification systems reliant on a kind of choreographic seeing. From either vantage, I'm interested in how the self-aware mover can alter the understanding or outcomes of that data through their interactions or performance. More broadly, my research asks, given our physical indivisibility from our data-driven world, how can somatic practices like dance and choreographic theory help us to navigate the complex information we encounter, as well as the issues that it produces like bias in AI? To support these inquiries, I've begun to analyze multiple examples, which I am now clumping into the following categories: encodings, with reference to choreographing and performing abstract data sets; decodings, with reference to interpreting embodied movement via its classification; and transfigurations, with reference to shifting data outputs via performative interactions with AI or other information systems. A rich terrain for understanding the body-data relationship that positions choreography or its theory as a binding force. And now I will gladly go into full screen. So thank you for your patience as I read through text that I had prepared, really wanting to express these ideas of encoding, decoding, and transfigurations with accuracy. The first project I want to show is Data Sensorium, Environmental Migration 1. This is a project that I developed at Metalab at Harvard with the following collaborators. Began the project curious about how a data set might be choreographed in a similar fashion to how a data set is translated into a data visualization. And the first step in the project was to decide what data set to choreograph. Decided on working with an environmental migration data set that looks at how populations are internally displaced within their territories or countries due to environmental disasters like volcanoes, earthquakes, droughts. And with a background in design.
Blood. 4.
With a background in design, I began by first analyzing the data and preparing the data to be translated both into visualizations, which was a part of more of the thinking process of what to do with them, to eventually find the form of a movement score. And then here is a video excerpt showing how the data visualization dashboard helped support the coming together of a movement score that's performed by Isabel Edgar. And I'm reading the movement score as a voiceover. Let's see.
Blood. 4. 3. 2. 1. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. Earthquake. 2. 1. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. Storm. 3. 2. 1. 4. 3. 2. 1. Mass movement. 2. 1. 4. 3. 2. 1. Wildfire. 2. 1. 2. 1.
Great. So thought I would just jump in by showing the example because it allows me to speak to it a lot more easily. But essentially, the movement score allowed Isabel to dance row by row a simplified data set that relied on a lot of logarithmic value translations, since performing a gesture for flood 2,000 times isn't feasible for a dancer. And what we did is we came up with gestures for each disaster type, like flood, volcano, and then we used the simple steps forward to connect with how many people were displaced or had to move because of the disaster. And it was truly that simple. What we did next was take artistic liberties, thinking what's the value of choreography here in performing a data set is to be able to make these artistic decisions that may convey data in a more emotional or textual manner. And you'll see our choreographic discovery on beginning with this simple movement score and then pulling it out into making greater and greater artistic choices. Ooh. Hopefully you were able to see that. I know sometimes videos can be quite glitchy during streaming. These videos. Oh, good. Okay, great. The next project actually predates Data Sensorium, and this was the development of a choreographic interface, which was essentially a gestural interface using machine vision and AI to read a set of choreographed gestures for interacting with screen-based projects here at the Harvard Art Museum's Lightbox Gallery. And I see this project both as one of decoding, because it requires a classification system to decode the body's data, which are the choreographed movements. And it also is an example of transfigurations because once active, it allows a person to use embodied movement to engage with data visualization or the Harvard Art Museum's database here to transfigure the data and the view of them. To develop the vocabulary went through quite an iterative process that actually began with looking at accessibility, considering what different bodies can do in a public space. This led to thinking through a bimanual, unimanual, and head control system for doing these simple interactions that we needed to do, such as zoom in, zoom out, select, and so on. Next was an iterative process with machine learning to actually see how choreographed movement might be able to be interpreted or learned by AI. This was actually far more complicated than anticipated because of the slight similarities of gestures needing to be reworked to be more dissimilar for the system to see them as distinct. Here's the prototype at the Harvard Art Museum's Lightbox Gallery, and interacting with a data visualization called Surprise Machines. Oh, I should have mentioned the choreographic interface was only an aspect of a greater project at Metalab at Harvard called Curatorial Agents. And Curatorial Agents was an exhibition featuring several different projects. And here's a video of the choreographic interface interacting with those projects that are all drawing from the Harvard Art Museum's Digital Collections API. Great. And for the sake of time, I'm going to move forward to my final project that is very much a work in progress. I'm so excited about this. The simple premise is using a twister board as a way for people to perform their personal data or survey answers in a public setting. And I only have a few images, which I'll leave up while I talk about the project. So inspired by participatory art, let's see, let me explain the board first. We set up the board, and this is research taking place at the University of Maryland. These are MFA in dance choreography students here. The twister board is set up to represent a simple survey where red is strongly disagree, blue is somewhat disagree, yellow is somewhat agree, and green is strongly agree. Yes, and so when the dial is spun, the twister dial is spun and lands on right foot, the participants will hear a statement, which they all, yeah, okay. The participants will hear a statement such as, gender is a matter of biology, and they will then have to move their right foot to the colored dot that matches their level of agreement with the statement. Really excited about this project because it allows game, the idea of a game, the idea of movement to be the base for exploring agreement and disagreement in a public setting through embodiment, and have a lot of hope for the project. I'm envisioning creating an augmented board so that a sonification of the ways people come together and harmonize in their answers or move apart and create dissonance. I think the sonification could be really rich for this. Something to draw your attention to is the bottom right image where those two bodies are actually matching. I see this moment as a data sculpture, or in a way, an embodied data sculpture. The fact that these two participants were able to find symmetry in their bodies meant that they had to answer 4 statements in the same way. They had to find the same level agreement of 4 statements, which allowed them to move their left foot, their right foot, their left hand, their right hand to these matching positions. And with all that adrenaline, I actually have wrapped exactly on time at 20 minutes. So hopefully that was clear.